Welcome to We Connect. Thank you very much for joining us on this program. Rathi Jafer is the director of the Indo-Korean Cultural Center here in Chennai. She's been involved with cultural activities and Indo-cultural activities for many years now, and it's our delight to have her on our program. Thank you so much, Rathi, for being here. Let's ask first what your center is all about. Is it only cultural?
Yes, the Indo-Korean Center was set up in 2006 to promote primarily an intercultural dialogue between India and South Korea, considering there's so much trade between the two countries. And I think Chennai is unique in the sense that it's home to almost 3,000 Koreans.
That's residents.
A lot of people. Yes. Out of the 8,000 in India, we have 3,000 in Chennai. There are about 150 small and medium Korean-run companies. The big Hyundai factories, there's Samsung, there's Lotte. So in 2006, there was a deliberation and a discussion with the embassy in Delhi and Mr. Venu Srinivasan here, who's Honorary Consul General for Korea, about the need to set up a center which will look more at the people-to-people, organization-to-organization links.
So is that actually happening? Are you satisfied with the way it's going?
Well, we're very young. We're about 5 years old now, but I think we've had a plethora of programs which have enabled us to work with key organizations in both countries. So yes, we've begun that journey, and we're some way down the road. Right. Still a long way to go, lots of things to do.
Right. But one of the interesting things I gather is that your center is actually a corporate-funded activity. You know, it's a center that's actually funded by the corporates. So isn't that unusual, Rathi?
It's very unusual, and I think we're the only center in all of India which has no government support directly. We keep the two governments informed through the Embassy of Korea in Delhi and ICCR here on the Indian side. Right. But it's primarily funded by Hyundai Motor India Limited and TVS Motor Company. Okay. And since 2008, we have a membership program of platinum, gold and silver members, Indian and Korean companies, who are either already doing trade with each other or intend to. And they support the center for specific benefits that we bring through to them.
Right. And of course, it's not necessarily confined only to the people who work in these corporate entities that you're talking about. I mean, it is open. Is it in fact open to anybody?
Oh, yes, it is. It is completely open. The funding is at the moment with companies on either side. The programs are for everybody. So it's really to bring about a greater understanding of Korea. Considering we have so many residents here, we know very little. All of their products seem to be household products. Yeah. There's a lot of consumer recall, I think, in terms of either cars or mobile phones.
Made in Korea, made in Korea.
Yeah, I think suddenly there's been an explosion in the market in terms of products from this country. But what about their wonderful art, their music, their cuisine, their style of dress, their mode of speech? So I think our center was really set up to bridge that gap.
So right. So now you're talking about culture, you're talking about clothes, cuisine. What do you think would be, for an Indian, say like myself, what do you think would be the most attractive thing about South Korea?
Well, I think when we started in 2006, it was really interesting because it was almost a zero-level understanding of what Korean culture is all about. It was seen as this distant land. We had about maybe 2.5 pages in our history textbook talking about the Korean War. Yes. We did not have any direct engagement with them. And I remember when I went to the interview, I sort of thought, okay, how many Korean writers do I know? What about Korean movies? Yes, I do know a couple of them, but it's not something that we have engaged with any sort of depth, let's say. So the first challenge for us at the center was how do we start up with zero-level awareness and build it up to a level of engagement. And for that, we deliberately focus on 3 strands, culture, language, and wellness. So culture is the entire range of the performing and visual arts. So dance, music, theater, film, the entire works, as well as painting, sculpture, ceramics. Language is the teaching of Korean and further down the line into Korean studies. Wellness is taekwondo, calligraphy, but also yoga from this side for the Korean residents who are here. And we do have a conversational English class happening for those who are interested to come in as well. Right. So all of our programs has looked at what are the distinct differences or what are the synergies, the point of contact in terms of commonality of culture. So just to give you one example, we've had music groups who've come out quite regularly. And what is very striking is a sort of links in terms of percussion traditions on both sides.
Right.
So whether we're looking at the traditions from Kerala or from Manipur or from Karnataka or Central India, you have both in terms of the actual instrumentation and also the techniques and the styles. So in the first 5 years, we've been focusing very much on bringing in ready-made shows from Korea, very high-quality shows that have traveled the world. So not looking at something which is so particular to the culture that cannot be understood.
Right. So tell me, in the past 5 years,
Yep.
since you got set up, the center started, have you seen an actual increase in interest in South Korea?
Yes, most definitely.
Really?
I think
Tell
there
me
have been
about it.
people who've come in with just out of curiosity to see what this show is about, and they've now become very regular members of our audience. I think that's one indication of the fact that people are enjoying the programs that are coming out, are finding some sort of link, emotive link, academically perhaps, or understanding it more from a research point of view. But definitely there is an increase in terms of the audience turnout and requests that we have been getting from around the country for programs.
Right.
One thing we do is we always link up a key Indian organization and a key Korean organization when we present our work. So it's never INCO Center alone. And I think the objective is also to make those vital links between cultural organizations and on both
Right.
sides.
What about art specifically? What about the paintings of Korea? I know that you constantly keep having these shows. Now, are these popular?
Paintings, of course, we've just closed a very popular exhibition which had about 150 paintings from Korea. This contemporary, calligraphic and traditional work. And this is to date one of the largest expositions of Korean painting in India. But what was more interesting was that there were about 30 painters who traveled. And they met
Okay.
Indian painters. They went to Cholamandal, they went to Dakshinachitra, they went further down to Tiruvannamalai and other places. And following this will be residencies that we are setting up in India and Korea.
So that'll be interesting.
That
right?
would be extraordinarily interesting,
I
I
would
think, for the
imagine.
artists, because they're going to spend anything between 4 to 6 weeks in the country, at the end of which they'll have a show. And I think down the years, we'll have a quantum of people who have meaningfully engaged. So it wouldn't just be a jet in, jet out. They would be there for some time to do their work and to interact with
Right.
people.
Sitting as we are in Collywood, how can I let you go away without asking about the film industry and the involvement? Because we read a lot about Korean films and stuff like this. So, and there's an increased awareness in Korean films here in India. So what's the connect there?
Actually, when we started the center, we did a sort of a dipstick survey and a desk survey in terms of art forms that people instantaneously recall when we say Korea.
Yes.
And film was at top of the list. I think now because increasingly people are able to download cinema, and also because Korean films have been coming to the Kerala Film Festival, for instance, or to Calcutta for years now, and filmmakers have traveled as well. What is interesting is that Korean film is always recognized as being very unique, not following necessarily any Hollywood, formulaic approaches, and therefore that uniqueness is what appeals to film studies students or to directors and others. So we have a very active film program, which is really on 3 tiers. We have a small group who comes into the INCO Center on the 4th Friday of every month, let's say. This is a 50-strong group who will watch the movie with English subtitles and have a discussion, very informal. We have screenings which are about, say, 200 people or so, periodic packages which come out, which look at either contemporary cinema or look at a retrospective of an important director. And annually we have a very large film festival called the Women's Film Festival, which as of last year Samsung has been supporting. There we place this Indo-Korean dialogue within a global ambit. So we have a majority of films from India and Korea, documentary, short and feature, and then from about 50 other countries around the world. And we have a lot of directors coming through, a lot of activities happening. We've just about finished the 4th edition.
That's right. You've also got the Busan Film Festival that happens now, regularly. And that's really gaining in importance. Let's talk about that.
The Busan International Film Festival, I think, is a perfect example of how a model like the film festivals in Cannes or Berlin has been taken and adapted to local conditions, and very quickly, over a very short span of time, it's become an international festival to reckon with. So on the festival circuit or calendar, now Busan is one important stop for most filmmakers to come through. And it's important that it's, I think, the only festival in Asia which has that sort of an international standing. There is a lot of interest from people in Busan to link up with Chennai because, again, I think there are at least 3 or 4 different areas of commonality. Yeah. One, both of them are southeastern seaboard countries with, I mean, cities with harbour facilities. Both have a very strong film industry. They have distinctive cuisines. Extraordinarily proud about their traditional cuisine. So whether it's idli vada and coffee on our side, or the raw fish that you get in Busan, you have that extraordinary link. And there is now an expressed interest of wanting to link culturally between the two cities. So it's a very early, we're in the early stages right now, and we're working on facilitating a dialogue between the governments of both sides, and we'll only facilitate, and then we'll probably move back and allow it to happen naturally.
Rathi, I believe Indian film stars are quite popular in South Korea. Rajinikanth, for instance?
Actually, no. I was very surprised 5 years ago when I visited and I said, well, can you, do you know anything about Indian cinema? And this was before Slumdog Millionaire. The answer I got was that they remembered a Rajesh Khanna movie which was ages ago. And this they remembered not so much for Rajesh Khanna, but The Elephant.
Okay,
So it was very much about this love for animals and flora, fauna that, it's kind of stuck in their memory, collective memory. But more recently, after Slumdog Millionaire, there has been a sudden interest in Indian cinema. And I think significantly there's been an economic link as well, because it's now getting released in theatres.
Yes, I believe Rajinikanth's film is going to be released where, it's going to happen.
Yeah, but more than Rajinikanth, I think the inroads have been made by Bollywood with Shah Rukh Khan. Shah Rukh's movie is very, very popular. 3 Idiots by Amir Khan is a sort of a, it's been sold out for most times, on top of the charts, which is quite unbelievable. Rajinikanth somehow is more popular in Japan. Very, very popular in Japan. Not yet so in Korea.
Right. Perhaps that's one of the things you should be doing.
I think so. Something that we should place on our agenda for the future.
Right. Rathi, I'm going to ask you to hold on for just a short while. We'll take a very short break here and reconnect, but we'll be right back with you, so you don't go anywhere.